On this Thanksgiving holiday, we wanted to highlight how Americans are helping those in Israel. Connell McShane talked to one man who spent weeks helping feed the troops.
As hundreds of thousands of Israeli reservists have been called up, many Americans volunteering to help those on active duty. And we're joined now by Rich Sokol, who spent 3 weeks in Israel. He's working in the fields, helping to feed the troops, doing all kinds of things. Thanks for joining us, Rich. We appreciate it. This all started for you, going over there and trying to help in any way you can. Bring us back to the beginning there after October 7th. Now your daughter was living over there, right?
That's right, Connell, and thank you for having me. So my daughter just graduated from high school, and she's spending her gap year in Jerusalem. And my wife and I have numerous members of our family that live in Israel, and I lived in Israel when I was younger, so we feel very attached to Israel. You know, the Israelis are all our brothers and sisters, and quite frankly, when someone in your family is hurting and there's been a catastrophe like Israel faced, these are our brothers and sisters, so we drop everything and we go help.
So you went
like
there
anyone would with their family.
For 3 weeks, right? I mean, we saw, you're out in the fields helping people, helping to feed the troops, volunteering in any way you could. I mean, tell us about some of the things you did when you were over there for 3 weeks.
So thanks. So I did numerous volunteer activities. Probably the best thing I did is I hooked up with a group called Unity Warriors, who is involved in getting gear to the troops on the front line. Everything from flashlights to medical tourniquets, you name it. What they're doing is really saving lives. So they organized with me two things. One is we had a barbecue for some of the troops. I'd like to say that my barbecue skills are what drove people to the barbecue. Obviously, that had nothing to do with it. It was the first hot meal, though, the troops that we saw had in 2 weeks. But I think what they really appreciated most was just the camaraderie. It was just having an American be there. So all the troops have read about all the pro-Palestinian protests going on in America and around the world, and they are just bewildered by how someone could be doing that at this time. This is such a clear-cut case of good versus evil, and we have to choose sides. I'm on the side of Israel because that is the side of good. So those soldiers were just so thankful for us to be there, to put our arms around them, to say, hey, we care, we support you, we're here, you guys are doing God's work, you're doing good, and we're with you 100% of the way. I'm
guessing when you first got there, they felt all of that support, the global support, but I wonder if it changed at all in the 3 weeks you were there, to your point, watching what was going on around the world. Did they feel like their support from the rest of the world was slipping away? And if so, did anyone express that to you or tell you how it made them feel? Or?
Absolutely, yeah, it did feel. So right when I got there, President Biden came. That was terrific. Everyone in Israel was so appreciative of the U.S. president coming. Also very appreciative of the 2 U.S. warships in the Mediterranean, because we have to deter Hezbollah from getting into the war. And U.S. standing with Israel is the only thing that's preventing Hezbollah from entering the war and creating tens of thousands of casualties on both sides. So it really seemed like the U.S. was with Israel. But after a few days, we started to see the protests, and they've grown and grown and grown across the world. And Israelis are looking at this and can't understand why. Israel has the most moral army in the world and is doing everything they can to avoid civilian casualties. Obviously, there are going to be civilian casualties, which breaks everyone's heart. But the difference between Israel and Hamas is Hamas targets civilians, while Israel does everything it can to avoid civilian casualties. So a lot of the Israeli soldiers expressed to me saying, don't the people know? Don't they understand what we're up against, the barbaric evil of Hamas, and that we're doing everything we can to avoid civilian casualties? There's no Israeli soldier that wants to kill a civilian, that takes joy in killing civilians like the Hamas terrorists do. They put themselves at risk to avoid civilian casualties, and we are just bewildered that the rest of the world doesn't see this.
Thanks so much for watching. Just go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.